You're listening to the Decentralized Talk Podcast, your crypto connection.
Decentralized Talk. Decentralized Talk.
All right, guys. Welcome to another outstanding episode of the Decentralized Talk Podcast, the best crypto podcast you've never heard of. This is the place where we break down your local crypto happenings and general bullshit about current events influencing crypto markets. We're growing our audience every week. We really want to thank everybody out there. We appreciate all the love and support, all the Twitter love.
We love you too, guys.
It's so nice. It's so nice to be loved, so warm and toasty.
There's a lot of love going on in this episode. I feel it.
There's a lot of love. And does that love not smell the aroma of fine, fine diamonds? We're on iTunes, iHeart, Google Music, and Spotify. Also, Music Coin, and pretty much anywhere dope that you find dope stuff. As always, our massively popular 3-on-3 fast break segment. We're doing Cred today. We're doing Quantum Resistance Coin and Bob's Repair. That's actually a cool one. Check it out. We're going to do a spotlight on XRP Ripple, and we're going to talk a little bit today about the banking industry broadly in crypto and how crypto and blockchain is affecting the banking industry. Decent, as always, this is not investing advice. This is just our opinion. So please do your own research when investing in cryptocurrencies. All right, guys, let's talk about banking in blockchain. Hesto started off. What are some of the biggest effects in the banking industry domestically?
Okay, so
domestically only.
Yeah, I don't. Why?
I would. Ding Dong, Texas. What is the blockchain doing to?
Dude, so much. It's
bank?
doing so much.
Well, I want to find out because I think everybody jumps to crypto is always so global. Everything's global.
Well,
trade,
it is global.
Right.
That's the whole.
So what's it doing in America?
Nothing.
The same thing it's doing globally. The same thing it's doing globally.
Well, that's why I'm asking because
I don't think it is doing the same thing it's doing globally.
I don't either. That's what we were talking about that earlier before the show. It seems like crypto is real heavy in Europe. It's real heavy in Asia.
Venezuela.
Yeah, I think the reason it's not like used as much and as popular here in America is because we don't feel the need for a cryptocurrency because our fiat
shit's already dope,
pretty stable. Well, I mean that's a matter of opinion, but we have a stable currency, and so we don't feel the need as much as some other countries, and our government works in a way where we may not feel the need for a cryptocurrency at this time when countries like China or something like that may feel differently about it. But it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. So I've come up with like a list of 5 things that I think or 5 ways that I think
I don't know if a list in 5 is really.
I think a list is more than one, isn't it?
Technically, I have a list of 2 things.
That is a list.
I don't know.
That is a list. Number 1.
That's a memo.
A 5 is definitely a list.
All right, let me hear these 5.
So these are 5 things that I came up with that I think are like ways that blockchain could disrupt the banking and financial world. First of all, loans and credit. I think the removal of gatekeepers in the loans and credit industry and the transparency that blockchain could provide could change a lot of things. Securities, by tokenizing assets, that's going to be a huge thing, and it could definitely change the financial outlook for the banking industry. Also, fundraising. A lot of companies use banks right now to fund their businesses by loans and stuff like that. Well, with blockchain, we've already seen ICOs seem to be a pretty good way to raise money. Clearance and settlements. So because of just like the distributed ledger, it reduces like a lot of transaction costs, operational costs, things like that financial institutions would usually take care of, that blockchain and cryptocurrencies can now like reduce significantly. And obviously payments, cross-border payments, I think is probably the biggest one. Bank-to-bank transfers, stuff like that could just completely disrupt the banking and financial industry.
Now, by disrupt, you're not necessarily meaning detrimentally.
No, I'm not saying it's going to eliminate banks. Now, I mean, I think maybe
I mean,
eventually,
aspects of it could, but in general,
generationally, maybe, maybe our grandkids
because
may not have banks and they use cryptocurrencies.
from your list, I see a lot of those honestly benefiting banks.
Really?
Well, I mean, think about it, because a lot of the banks are actually
Please explain.
implementing blockchain into their businesses right now. I mean, for loans, they're going to implement the blockchain in there to process loans and do that, just like any other crypto might do, which is going to allow them to process loans faster, hand out loans faster. And the issue I see with the cryptocurrency, picking it up from there, is the funding that a bank already has and backing to implement that process and actually, utilize it quicker. The technology's there for them to use it just like any other cryptocurrency might. And banks have been around for a long time. They're not stupid. They see a technology that's gonna put a risk towards them. They're gonna research it, implement it, and utilize it.
That's a very good point. And I think the how it can disrupt the banking industry is just the decentralization aspect of it. So when we're talking about crowdsourcing or fundraising, having multiple people fund a startup instead of one corporate entity like a bank, I think that's how it could disrupt it. But it's going to be a small dent, unless we're talking long term. I mean, something would have to come out to just completely circumvent all the systems that banks have in place to actually like take them down. And I mean, we all I guess we probably got in originally hoping that Bitcoin would do something like that, and it still might, but I think it's just so long term out. We can't even be thinking of this in like our lifetimes. At least that's how I'm seeing it today, honestly. I mean, my thought process changes from day to day on this this kind of stuff.
Yeah, see, I don't know that cryptocurrencies ever take down the banks. Some or all of them. Let's say that it may thin the herd eventually, if that's the best way of putting it, I guess. But
Well, what's the big way that what's the biggest attack that they have on the banks then? Is it the fees? I mean, do you think that's the biggest, like out of everything you listed, which thing would be the most likely to bring the banks to their knees? Because I'm looking at the reason I ask is I'm looking at an article. I always heard, around Twitter and that kind of thing, that the banks are like basically existed off of fees. But I'm reading this article is from depositaccounts.com, and it's got a breakdown of all the top banks in the it looks like U.S. banks, and at the top right now, Wells Fargo has got a fee income of $5.6 billion annually.
Yeah, that's insane.
But
See that?
yeah, but
For
look,
me,
this is
that
what they show
pisses
though.
me off.
That's 3.8% of their profits. So
What are their primary profits?
Yeah. So what? I don't understand them. How are they
Loans?
making their money? Interest? Yeah, interest rates.
I don't know. It doesn't address it here in the article, but it does say this is not like a
Fake
pro bank.
accounts that they make.
Overdraft fees.
Oh, that was
Wells
Fargo.
Fargo.
I guess
all
that was
those-
Fargo. They were like, yeah, because they kept spiffing all their like.
I feel like it's got to be
guys.
more than 3%. That doesn't sound right.
It is. It's 3.8%.
Is this on wellsfargo.com?
No, this is deposit accounts by Lending Tree. So
What is Lending Tree?
Lending Tree
a
is
subsidiary of Wells Fargo.
look, here's another article right here. How do banks make their money? The fallacies of fee income. Big banks rack up 6.4 billion in ATM overdraft fees. Okay, so look at it like that. So this is a CNN Money article. Big banks rack up 6.4 billion in ATM overdraft fees. Well, the last that Lending Tree article said that the total banking industry domestically did almost, it was like 900 billion. So almost $1 trillion, and they did 6.4 billion in ATM overdraft fees. So those are pretty consistent, I think, pretty consistent numbers. Somewhere sub 6%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is actually in fees.
What I'm reading here is in 2016 alone, overdraft
Well, you got to
revenue
source it first.
Okay, this is from CNBC.com. This is in 2016. It's about the same. Overdraft fee revenue accounted for about 8% of banks' net income. So about the same. But I don't know. For me, that pisses me off. That just really pisses me off. You're never
gonna when I was in college.
I mean, true. True, but you're never going to get
it off as much now.
You're never going to get an overdraft fee with Bitcoin, because if you either have the Bitcoin or you don't. Overdraft fees have always been ridiculous to me. It's a ridiculous thought. You're saying I don't have the money, and so you're going to charge me more for not having the money. If I don't have the money, then why are you paying for me?
Well, basically, after a
for-
while, they'll cancel you as a customer. They'll say,
But
you as a
I never agreed to. I didn't want a loan. I never agreed. I never signed off and said I wanted a loan. I wanted a
I'm
checking
sure you
account.
did.
Well, I know. I mean,
did
yeah,
somewhere.
obviously I did when all their
BBVA
fine print of
Compass
34.
Well, it gives you the option. You can say, I want the overdraft option, or I want you to decline me.
Right.
Have the funds.
Yeah. So there's a few banks out there that will maybe take the moral high ground, but I think those are exceptions to the rule.
Well, I mean, the other option is don't.
I
spend
cannot
money you don't
advocate
have.
banks.
Well, that's a lot easier to say now than when you're a 22-year-old college student and you're
Yeah, I think that's my point, though. I mean, like when you're younger and you don't know how to manage your money, then you're more likely to get. And then look, if you don't ever discipline anybody, then they're never.
Why is it the bank's job to discipline me?
My issue wasn't.
If it's my money,
they're giving you access, right? Because
they're giving me access to my money, correct?
Yeah. Well, they're also giving you access to their bank card.
Okay.
So without their bank card, you wouldn't have had.
I would just pay in cash. I would just pay in cash.
If that were true, you would have carried cash.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have used their card. You wouldn't have used their bank card. So they got to get. I mean, I'm just saying.
Hey, pro banker here. All right.
I mean, the world isn't black and white.
Look at this. Bitcoin Maximalist is a pro banker.
No,
I'm not.
So the world isn't black and white. You don't
myself,
have to be. You don't have to be pro or anti anything. You can be in the gray. And I think banks have a place. But I don't have to be anti-bank. I can just be anti certain bank policies.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't have to. I don't. I can pick a gray area. All banks are bad. Why?
That's
because they're banks. So banks.
Okay. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of banks.
I get it. I'm not a big fan of what banks are doing either. So I mean, but I don't want it to get in this kind of black and white situation where it's like it's equivalent to the
Everybody hates the banks.
right. It's
Screw
the
the
same.
banks.
It's like the ignorance of racism. You know what I mean? It's like that's a bank. I don't like him. It smells weird. You know. I heard banks got cooties. Okay, I mean, okay. Actually, it turns out a lot of banks do have cooties. That's a stereotype they have to live with. Yeah. But you know, aside from that, some banks are really good people. You know, in fact, you know, I got some of my best friends are banks.
Banks have really good personalities.
Some banks have really good personalities.
I understand the need for banks. I understand that they do provide good services that come in very handy, but they do a lot of shady practices. So yeah, you're right. I can't say that I'm completely anti-banks because I understand the services that they provide.
I mean, that's everybody in any space. There's going to be your shady characters. You can't help that.
I just think what banks have become in the past 50 years, and then when we're getting to the point where the government is bailing out banks, we've gone too far in the wrong direction. And you know, I feel like blockchain could help some of those problems, so we don't make the same mistakes again.
Yeah, it would be crazy if everything was super transparent. If everything was down on a blockchain, I think that would help us globally and domestically. If you could put everything on a blockchain, just imagine if they had to identify the tranches of subprime mortgages that they were bundling together to sell during the financial crisis.
Right.
If people had open access to that, and the guys that solved it from The Big Short, they had to actually knock on doors at people's houses and ask them like personally, like, are you paying your loan? And the answer was no, because they weren't even there. They were moved out. They're already gone.
Yep.
And if this kind of thing was on a blockchain, it'd be searchable in a heartbeat. Anybody could look it up.
Yep, it would all be transparent, and it would have saved a bunch of people a bunch of money. But
yeah, but but the really ironic thing is the whole idea behind why that situation was created. I think a lot of people will argue is because the government tried to force banks to make shitty loans. So people that had a lot of fees would have normally incurred a lot of fees. They kept waiving the fee essentially. I mean, that's basically what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
They gave $400,000 home loans to guys who made $45,000 a year.
Yeah,
and
you know
they
who basically created the lien, like where you could
DJ Screw,
your mom,
somebody else's property for not paying back a loan. Sorry, what y'all say?
DJ Screw,
your mom.
No, neither.
Damn.
Because DJ Screw talks a lot about lean.
He did. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Okay, talked.
He died of overdosing lean.
First of all, R.I.P. DJ Screw.
Yeah. So did
Both
Bar
terrible
Baby.
answers, by the way.
What is the actual answer, P?
Julius Caesar.
Julius the Lean Caesar.
Yep.
He's always sipping that lean.
Sipping lean.
I did not know that.
Allowing bankers to confiscate land in lieu of loan payments. Created the law. Made it law.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys heard my list of how I think blockchain could disrupt the banking industry. I mean, what are y'all's thoughts? You think it can disrupt the banking industry?
I think it's going to help the banking industry.
Mm.
I think it's going to help
because
streamline processes.
They're gonna
They're going to utilize it.
Yeah.
They're going to utilize coins, tokens, blockchain technology itself, and streamline their processes. Speed up transaction speeds across borders. Streamline loan application processes, streamline, loans for houses and all that fancy jazz. Just basically utilize the technology, research it, and cut their fees, cut their transaction times, and build themselves up off of the technology. Now, to an extent, I also see where there's going to be competition for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as well, but I think that's going to be in more undeveloped countries. Like the more developed world, I don't think you're going to see as much competition. So it's going to take some sort of world-changing event for it to really affect the banking industry, in my eyes.
Well, so that's really interesting that you said that. I just got finished reading Sam Walton's book about Walmart. I think it's called Made in America. And I didn't know this about Walmart, but basically they started as like a general store. And what Sam Walton figured out that he could do is basically take these like super
Broken
meticulous chains. Yeah, he bought shitty
it was Broken Wings. Sorry, I ruined that take.
Oh, I was like, wow. I was like, oh, did you read it? I was like, yeah, that's what it was. It was like these shitty small chains, these regional players. And so he would buy them and basically fix them up. And he purposely, all the Walmarts started out in the boonies, and he would find it and he would build his stores there on purpose. He actually went up in his airplane and he would this is before Google Maps. He would go up in his airplane and then look at the way like the town was growing, like what direction it was growing out of. And then he would find like large warehouse space out in that direction and then literally like land at the nearest airport, drive over there and offer the guy cash on the spot to open up a Walmart on those properties. But the crazy thing was, and I guess the point I'm trying to draw towards is what you said, is that while all these big things like Kmart was already huge and Target was a big, huge competitor, and there were some other companies that like Woolworths or something like that. I don't know if that's exactly the same, but like they're not even around anymore. And they were these big, massive national chains, and they were big and popular in the metropolitan areas. And Walmart just kind of quietly gobbled up all of the absent space. And before these other players could really figure out what the fuck was going on, Walmart was everywhere. And so by the time they decided to put a Walmart, in Chicago, it was too late. And Walmart had already dominated all these people. And they became part of the community. And there was an association with them, and people were attached to Walmarts. So I wonder, is that like coins like Omisego? This is a coin that's designed for impoverished nations, right? For people with super, super, super low spending allowances to be able to have ability to exchange and buy exchange lower than sub $1. But if you aggregate all of that across the world, you could be extremely powerful, especially when you've got 4 or 5, maybe 10 players in the metro market, or in what you say now, the first world. If you aggregate all of the second and third world countries and all the billions of people out there, you could be very powerful and very influential. But mark it down. I think that's how it's gonna happen.
I'll write that down.
Yeah. Also, like Elon Musk was talking to Joe Rogan right over.
That was a good episode, wasn't it?
God, that was so good.
It was.
He was talking about AI.
Yeah.
He said that with AI, the genie's already out of the bottle. And because Joe was asking him, what's the future of AI? Is it going to take over? Same kind of question with the banks. Is AI going to, when the singularity hits, is it going to take us over and basically get rid of this organic body that we have? Or is it going to be more of a merge? Are we going to merge with AI? And I think that's for another crypto episode. But the same concept I think applies to these banks. Is cryptocurrency, is blockchain and crypto going to merge with the banks, like Prater is kind of saying, or is it going to take the place and destroy the banks, kind of like you were saying? I think one thing is for sure, the genie's out of the bottle. We don't know what direction it's going to go.
Mm-hmm. It could be both, eventually.
Yeah, it could be one and then the other, or it could be both. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Only time will tell. But you're right. The genie's out of the bottle. The technology isn't going to get uninvented. Blockchain isn't going to get uninvented. It's just going to be used more and more and more. It's just how it's going to be used. That's the question. How it's going to be used, how it's going to be implemented, and where it goes from here. And we'll just have to see.
And I think universally people can see already one of the biggest places that business-to-business transactions and bank-to-bank transactions is going to be into the XRP Ripple platform, and that brings us right into our coin focus. So, guys, our coin focus of the day is XRP, better known as Ripple, but I think we're going to talk about that. What's the difference between XRP and Ripple right off the bat, just so people don't?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, "How do I buy Ripple? How do I buy Ripple?" You don't buy Ripple, you buy XRP. Okay, so Ripple,
stupid,
you idiot. God,
I mean, if you're going to ask me that, you don't even get Ripple,
dude. Somebody asked me how to buy Ripple. I just immediately slap them and walk away. No, okay, so Ripple is the protocol. Think of Ripple like a company. XRP is the token that they use. XRP is like the currency, I guess.
What's another example? Give me another example, just for clarity. Like, give me an analogy with some other company, something like that, I guess.
Ripple is the Fed. XRP is the dollar.
I like you.
So when you're buying, I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. That's just what I thought of immediately. So when you're buying XRP, you're not buying Ripple.
Ethereum. And
yeah, there you go. XRP's Ether, ETH.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a really close analogy. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So Ripple. So if I were going to buy Ripple, I would be literally buying like stock in a company called Ripple.
Whoa.
But XRP.
Whoa. Now that's a security. Ripple is not a security. I think that's well established.
So
yeah, on our episode about securities.
Yeah, but I mean, but you mean XRP? XRP is not a security because you can't actually buy stock in Ripple, can you?
No, it's not a public.
It's a private. Yeah.
Because it's a protocol. It's not exactly a company. It's not exactly how it works, but that's kind of how you can explain it, I guess.
This is why I hate this bullshit. It's just the same thing. It's the same shit. This is like we're trying to get away from these complicated banking webs and nests of LLCs on top of corporations that have sub-shell companies and merchants and merchant accounts and advisory boards and all this stuff. It just, to me, XRP Ripple has always reeked of trying to find a way to fuck everyone the same way they've been fucking us with the inevitability of crypto.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's true. I used to hate Ripple, right? I had this hatred of Ripple because everybody was like, it's the centralized cryptocurrency. It's just it just has this stigma about it,
Some of my best friends are Ripple.
Got a lot of weird friends, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just always had it. Just Ripple gave me this bad taste in my mouth. But the more I learned about it, I see the use case, and I see how it can it can be a good thing because yes, it is more centralized than most cryptocurrencies. Being that the Ripple Foundation, that's not what it's called. What is it? Is it the Ripple Foundation?
Ripple Dipple Do.
Ripple Labs.
Oh, that's close. That's pretty close.
So,
Yeah, you were right on it.
so it's
Trying to fill that dead air. I don't know.
So I mean, I can see how it can be called the centralized cryptocurrency because the Ripple Labs owns 60% of the XRP out there. It's all pre-mined, so they started out with 60%. Now they do send 1 billion Ripple out into the ecosystem every month, and I think the timeline for that is like 50 years or something like that. But they do own a huge portion of that, and that's to implement upgrades to the network and things like that. But I can get the argument that it is more centralized than most cryptocurrencies. But when you talk about like what it could actually do for the banking industry, and yeah, I know I'm not a fan of banks, but I also am not oblivious to the fact that they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And so this can make a lot of people's lives easier when it comes to transacting from one bank to another. And that's the Ripple network. The XRP token is implemented in that. And I think we'll kind of get...
So, right off the bat, I loathe everything about that so far. Because it's the same argument from tyrannical governments. Give me more power, give me more ability to control things, because I'm going to make it so easy. I'm going to make things easy for you. What you don't want is a big, complicated, decentralized government. What you don't want is a big, complicated, decentralized blockchain. What you want to do is you want to come to Ripple. I'll take care of you. I'll do these things. Oh, by the way, you're going to have to hook it up on these fees. We call them taxes. You call them fees.
Well, none of that stuff, what you just said, has anything to do with Ripple. So
it's exactly the same. You can choose Bitcoin, which is totally decentralized.
Well,
and you have to do the work yourself. Or you can
that's
have,
the thing.
You
would never be stuck in that position of Bitcoin or Ripple, because they're two completely different things. Ripple is not trying to be something where you transact where I send you money. That's just not what it is. I mean, it could be. Yeah, it could be. It could be from my checking account to your checking account in China. But that's not the space that they're trying to conquer.
Technically,
I could
you were to run your own gateway,
from one wallet. Yeah, I could send it from one wallet to another. That's possible, but that's not really the space that they're after. So It's not that it's trying to compete with Bitcoin. I don't think it'll ever be Bitcoin or Ripple. I don't think
the guy I was listening to made an argument that technically Ripple is more decentralized than Bitcoin.
Ooh, how is that?
Because from in a Bitcoin transaction, to move your Bitcoin back into fiat, you're going to have to go through Coinbase.
Oh.
Technically, with Ripple, you could create your own gateway
where you can exchange it,
and you could exchange it for whatever you wanted in the end. And then you don't need any sort of third party to transfer your funds back into the currency that you want.
That's pretty interesting.
Well, I think that assumes that you wanna transfer your Bitcoin into a fiat
or gold,
Ripple, or gold, or silver, or a couch,
or pigeons.
Yeah.
or
anything.
Frequent flyer miles.
That's the thing about it. That's the thing about Ripple, is that like the protocol lets you exchange it for any type of asset.
As long as somebody has that asset in their gateway.
Exactly. And as long as both parties agree that it will be that asset and they trust each other.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there's somebody who is in charge of Ripple who can change things like you mentioned that you said there's how many? You said 50 billion or something like that over the course of.
They own 60% of the XRP.
Oh, when
No,
Ripple
no,
was
no,
created,
no, I'm talking about
there was 1 billion tokens created. 80 billion tokens were allocated to the company, and 20 billion were given to the 3 founders.
Yeah, and then they release another billion every year for 50 years, right? Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah, I believe so, something like that.
Okay,
But every time Ripple is transacted, it's burnt as well. So,
okay, so the problem that I have again with this being a centralized currency, and what makes that article I think really scammy, is that there's still a centralized power. There's a group of people in a boardroom somewhere who can say, actually, you know what? This year we're not going to release 1 billion coins. We're going to release 0. Or next year we're going to release 10 billion because we want to pump the market up, or we want to deflate or inflate. And they have that control. You have absolutely no say in that. They can manipulate the market.
My argument to that would be that yes, they might have a lot of XRP, but they don't own the Ripple protocol. That's open source software that's decentralized. And so you don't have to use XRP. If I want to send USD to British pound, I don't have to go through XRapid and use XRP as a bridge currency. I can just, as long as me and the party I'm sending it to agree that it will be that asset in the end, and we trust each other, then it never has to touch XRP at all. So they can inflate, deflate, they can do whatever they want to XRP. That doesn't necessarily
give me an example of a transaction. Give me an example of a real life transaction where you're going to exchange a British pound for the English dollar and you trust that person.
So I'm going to be in Thailand in January, right? And I have a bank in Thailand, the National Thailand Bank. Okay. If I was going to use Swift, we would have to make, and you want to send me $100 from your Wells Fargo account to my Thailand bank account. All right. So if we were to use Swift, first of all, those two banks would have to have a Norso account. So they would have to be able to, and basically what that means is like the Thai bank would have already US dollars in the US bank, and the US bank would already have Thai baht in the Thai bank. So they would have to have that Norso account, and then they would have to they would have to communicate with each other to trust each other, which takes days, and that's why it would take so long to send that to me. Okay, but with Ripple, we use the Ripple network, which the consensus protocol would mean we trust each other because we're sending it to each other. Okay.
Yeah, but you're talking about like
$100.
You're talking about the smallest like thing that happens with currency. Somebody just like wiring you money.
Yes,
that is like,
and it's
like a 0% point of like what happens.
Well, but this would be almost free and almost instantly. It would take.
Yeah, but you're saying like, hey, there's this thing that nobody ever does that would be totally free. It would be awesome.
Wait, how can you say nobody does that?
It's such a small percentage.
Is it? Okay, we're talking about $100. What about a car or a boat or an airplane or lots of cars
or a paycheck
or tons and tons and tons of things that get transferred from one bank to another bank internationally?
Perfect. Now tell me how that happens between you and another person in a decentralized manner on this protocol without trust. Or with trust.
There is trust. The two parties have to trust each other for the transaction to even take place.
Yeah, but the whole idea behind cryptocurrency, if you even look in the original white papers on Bitcoin, the entire idea of Bitcoin cryptocurrency is based on the fact that you're transacting without trust. That's what it makes safe transactions.
That's Bitcoin. Yes, that's Bitcoin, and this is Ripple. This is something different. You can't compare it to Bitcoin. You know, it just works.
Although I did kind of compare it to Bitcoin earlier.
Yeah, you have to compare it to Bitcoin.
I guess you can compare it as in it's not apples to oranges, but
yeah, dude, it's like nectarines to oranges.
Pears to pear plums, the little things that are like both.
Yeah, and one of them is disgusting.
Like, I'll say this about Ripple, XRP, the entire thing. It is extremely, extremely complicated. Extremely complicated. The more research I do about Ripple, the more confused I get. Like, we could have 5 episodes on Ripple and really probably still not get into the really bread and butter of the technicals of this thing. But at the end of the day, it's a faster, cheaper way for to transact cross-border from one bank to another, and that's
for people, but
it's still safe, you know,
right now. But see,
safe.
so that leads me to my other big issue with I mean, this is going to be not just for Ripple, but for any cryptocurrency that's trying to compete with banks on this. Banks right now, we just talked about it. They have a huge portion of their money, or a huge portion in dollars, right? Billions of dollars that comes from these transaction fees. Well, what happens in the future when Ripple gets more and more popular and becomes more and more of an elephant and less of a fly in terms of nuisance on these banks, and they start really cutting into their profits? And then the banks say, okay, well, if Ripple comes along, we're going to have basically zero profits from transaction fees. Why don't we just cut them 70% tomorrow?
The problem with that is that the banks are having to pay transaction fees as well. So Ripple is actually making them money.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a bank doesn't do its own transactions. A bank pays another company to do the transactions via SWIFT, via ACH, via, what is the other one? Earthport?
Yeah, it was Earthport, yeah.
Earthport. So they're paying them to do these transactions that are taking multiple days and then passing that on to the user. Now, they can say, okay, we're going to do your transaction in a fraction of that and still charge you the same fee. How do you feel about that? And the people are going to go, oh, that's freaking awesome.
They could
they're going to make 10 times as much money.
Well,
yeah.
Something else has to be missing, right? Because why wouldn't they already be on it? I mean, I know some banks are on it, but why are there no
120 banks that have already partnered with Ripple, including the third largest bank in the world, the Spain
Bank of America, HSBC.
Oh man, we won't even go into that 120 list, but it's
okay. But so there's
a big one.
Okay, so you guys bring up another really shady.
But
thing
it's a new technology. They have to test it before they're going to just say, "Oh hell yeah, let's hop on this shit."
And we'll go into the testing thing. So far, their tests of XRapid, and I'll explain that in a minute, have proven to save the banks 30 to 70% in transaction fees. So it's already saving the banks a shit ton of money. And they can even say, hey, we're going to charge you half. We're going to charge Bob half the fee that he normally would get. And they're having to pay such small transaction fees. They're still making way more than they used to. So that it works with the bank. And I think that's why a lot of people in the decentralized space, like the crypto space, don't like Ripple, because this libertarian view of anti-banks, like I am, don't want to work with the banks. We want the banks to be shut down and all this, but unfortunately, we're just not there. We're just not there. And so,
yeah, but working with 120 banks is not the same thing as engaging in transactions with 120 banks. Working with Chase or Bank of America, being listed on Ripple's website as working with them, is not the same thing as they're doing.
Right.
Not one bank has actually used XRP for a transaction yet.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So these are really misleading kind of statistics, right? When we say
that's like any other cryptocurrency.
Baby steps.
Well, just because a lot of cryptocurrencies are fraudy.
Decent or any less decentralized than Ethereum.
Oh, it's not. No, I totally agree. I think the only true decentralized currency is Bitcoin.
Okay.
Everything else is
level there.
Oh yeah. No, I'm with you.
I'm gonna read.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, so I think we should talk about the recent
sex, baby.
Talk about you and me.
Let's talk about all the good things.
That can be.
What? How's it go next?
Let's talk about XRP.
Oh,
no diggity.
I see what you did there.
Bag
Different
it up.
song. Okay, so I think we should talk about the recent spike in price of Ripple because it recently, just in the past week, went up 60%. And so some people might not know why that is. And that is because next month, and this is coming out September, the end of September 2018. So next month, October 2018, Ripple is supposedly releasing their newest product, XRapid. And what XRapid is doing bank-to-bank transfers, but implementing XRP as an exchange bridge or a currency bridge. I'm sorry. Oh, the whole point of this is to increase liquidity.
There's XRapid, XVIA, and XCurrent.
Yes, and XCurrent is already out. That's the
Currently out.
Yeah, that's their corporate solution for
Processing
banks.
payments.
Yeah, exactly. For banks and financial institutions, like to take the place of SWIFT. What XRapid is a bridge currency using XRP to increase liquidity and lower transaction costs.
Yeah, but to me, like that's like shady language when they say to increase liquidity. Basically, what they're saying is to reduce transaction costs. I don't know why they just say that. That's what.
Well, you got to do the special speak.
They didn't say
Coach talk.
I said that.
I thought you were reading that from the article.
No, I'm reading it from a article. I mean, I read it from a article.
They are who we thought they were.
I read it from an article earlier.
An article.
I read it from. Did I say
article.
A article?
A article.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Articles are A, N, and the.
But I didn't read it from Ripple's website. No, I don't. I don't like to get information from.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I thought that's how the article read.
That was like what I got from it as the point of this XRapid is to increase liquidity, because if you're sending USD to
these vagaries kill me, man. It increases liquidity. Okay, define that for me. Also, this is the same shady vibe that I get from every shitcoin out there. Oh, next month we're totally gonna launch something that's gonna change the world, and this is what it's supposed to do, and it's gonna be awesome, and you're gonna love it. But it's gonna happen next month. So then what happens? Ripple jumps up 60% and everybody gets fucked.
Well, you don't know everybody's going to get fucked.
I don't.
Like
this
in
is
a
not
good way
investing.
or a bad way.
This is not investing advice.
Yeah, and who doesn't want to get fucked?
Well, I'll tell you what. He's got two thumbs, and he's on this side of the microphone.
You don't want to get fucked?
It depends on how it goes
Are you
down. I
talking
guess.
capitulation?
By like a big burly man named Rodney.
No, well, I mean, his name's Rocky. That's just total turn off.
I said Rodney.
Oh, Rodney.
Yeah, you know
That's
Rodney.
a whole nother story.
He be fucking, man.
You talking about Rodney the Rod?
That's my cornbread.
Anyway, XRapid is
cocktail.
because XRapid is really is based on implementing the XRP token. That's why we saw the price like skyrocket, because a lot of the arguments against Ripple and XRP was really if the Ripple network can exchange any asset for any asset as long as both parties agree, then what is the point of XRP? Why is it even anything? It's not paying transaction fees. There's no point in it. And that was a big argument against Ripple and XRP, was there's really no use case for Ripple at all. Well, XRapid changes that. And this makes it where, if I'm sending 500 USD to Great Britain and it's going to be exchanged for the British pound, that bridge currency would be XRP to instantly do it in 4 seconds.
Yeah, I think my prediction here is this is going to be a big fucking hammer to a lot of people, because 60-cent Ripple with how many coins?
Oh, Ripple's not even a fifth of what it was in January.
Yeah, but what's the market cap on Ripple right now? Let's pull it up.
A fifth of what it was in January.
I mean, well, just a day or two ago, it did pass Ethereum for the second time for the number 2 cryptocurrency. That happened in December, and it happened again about 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay, so market cap
And
right
I don't.
now,
We didn't even say anything about this. A lot of people don't even consider Ripple a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it doesn't have a blockchain.
Yep, you're right. You're right. That's why it's a lot different. That's why you can.
Well, there's a couple of them that don't have a
can
blockchain.
compare it.
EOS have the
a distributed ledger.
You can obviously compare it to Bitcoin in certain ways, but it really is a lot different than most cryptocurrencies, because it still does have a distributed ledger that's based on this agreement protocol. But
what happens when they announce how many banks? What happens when they announce? Because right now, how many banks? If you were to ask the question, how many banks are going to engage in XRapid?
Currently, there's 0 banks doing it, but I think in the next 5 years there'll be a lot more than 0 doing it. I think at this point it's just a really.
Is that a good? Would you say that was a this is a good timing investment thing for it? I think right now that's what I'm just really afraid of. It may only be 60 cents, but 60 cents when you've got 39 billion of these things, 800 million, so almost 40 billion XRP at 60 cents. That's a $24 billion market cap.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I wish I could say like I did the math, but I'm just looking at coin market cap.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money.
What if the crypto market is $3 trillion at that point? I mean, it doesn't seem like that much money then.
Yeah, but we're talking about right now. And right now, people are investing in this thing. This thing is going up in value. And what I'm afraid of is that because Ripple is so kind of shadowy and complicated. Look, they already did this one time. They came out with Ripple, and it crashed.
This.
But it crashed. Also, in part, Ripple crashed hard because people figured out after a while, like, oh shit, it really doesn't do anything.
Well, and that was before the XRapid. That's where XRapid comes in.
Ripple,
but before it did that,
before even Ripple went up, they never claimed that it did anything.
Oh, exactly.
You're right. They came out and said that it didn't do anything.
Right.
They don't even call themselves a cryptocurrency. They're a what do they call themselves? A fintech something platform. Fintech platform.
Yeah. Those are big red flags for me. The super technical legal language, everybody's splicing their words and making sure it comes out perfectly and sharply.
It's not that technical, though. If you actually read about it, it's very straightforward.
I don't know, man. I think I'm pretty damn confused after reading
about the protocol, but not about what they're trying to do and what they're doing.
No, the basics.
They're very straightforward about what they are, what they do, what their stuff does, and what their plans are for the future.
I will give it that. They have a YouTube channel out there, and there's so many videos where the lead developer is like explaining kind of how things work, and he does it in pretty layman's terms, and they're pretty damn transparent about what they are. They're really not trying to hide anything, and they never advocate like investing in it or anything like that.
No,
they're just
kind of push you away from it.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is make bank-to-bank transfers cheaper and faster.
So when I was in college, I was a sales manager. I was an assistant store manager.
Psychology.
Sales manager, assistant store manager, sales manager for a telecom company. I'm not going to name it, but Fortune 10 company, and they had a retail store, and so I worked there, and I used to always think it was such an awkward place to be in, because as a sales manager, that's the person that everybody goes to as soon as there's a problem, right? Oh, I got to go get my manager, or I demand this. Let me go get my manager. So I dealt with all that stuff, and one of the things that I really had to be keen on was the back of the receipt. On the back of the receipt, there's like 2 fucking pages worth of
fine print.
fine print, right? Yeah, and so it's very plain speak. Honestly, like if you read the back of the receipt, it is totally everything's there. It's like the return policy on certain phones was different than it was on other phones, and like it was always really frustrating because somebody would come in and say, dude, man, I bought this phone and now I decided that I didn't want it or whatever, or I changed my mind. And then I would flip that thing over and say, man, I'm sorry, but it says it right here on the receipt. Also, you signed it, you verified. And so from a
like
legal
the South Park
perspective,
show
I didn't see that episode.
with the Apple contract.
Yeah. What was it? Because you click to say
Human
like,
centipede.
I agreed. Yeah, that's right. Human centipede.
Human centipede.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't read the agreement?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just clicked accept. That's what everybody does.
That's what everybody did.
Yes.
Well, now you're part of this human centipede.
So I guess that's my thing here too. Like with Bitcoin, there's no small print, there's no fine print, there's no print. There's nothing. It's all completely and totally up to you and the person you're doing the transaction with. It's completely, truly decentralized. That's what's so beautiful and safe about it. That's what doesn't require any trust. That's why the transaction speeds may be slower, but they mean something because they're immutable. Now, when you go to Ripple, the immutability factor is a little gray because they can, if they own it, they can change it. Even if it's on a blockchain, they can say, well, just look what Ethereum did. What's on a ledger?
I think that's where we're different because to me,
also I have a much bigger
vagina.
I was waiting for what you were going to say there.
I was waiting for what I was going to say too. I went through a list of like things and I was like, nope.
I think Bitcoin is nice in theory, and eventually we may see where it gets to that point. But honestly, barring some sort of world-changing event, World War III, a crash of the U.S. economy, I don't think we're going to get there in my lifetime. So that's nice. That's awesome. And I'm all for that happening. But there's honestly no benefit in it for me.
I see.
That sounds real selfish.
I see
but
World
I
War
can
III
see the benefit in Ripple. It's probably one of the better cryptocurrencies that may get accepted by a large corporation or group of corporations, get utilized, and that's something I don't mind being a part of if I can get a little piece of that pie.
I'm
not investing advice.
You guys, you heard it here first on Centralized Talk.
I have to agree with Trader
talk,
here.
Highly centralized talk.
If you're in the crypto game for strictly decentralized reasons, and that you will only invest in things that are completely decentralized and on a blockchain, then yeah, Ripple's not something you probably want to get involved with. But I think for what they are really, really good at it. I think that they're not advertising to be some life-changing global currency that's going to be decentralized and all these things. They're just advertising themselves to be a way to make bank-to-bank transfers across borders faster and cheaper. And I think that they could do that really successfully. And
so they have never done and have no proof of ever doing.
Well, you're right, but everything that was great never did it,
and have a $24 billion market cap.
Everything that was great never did it before until they did it. So I don't know if that's like a good argument. I mean, I think we know who's not going to be investing in XRP here, but and is it a good investment? I don't know. It might not.
I already own XRP.
Actually, that's not really true either. That's not really true either. I don't see XRP as as a bad investment at certain times. I just
I
think
have some
right
of my
now
best
is-
profits right now in XRP.
Me too.
Oh, I bet. I guarantee you do. I guarantee you do. But if you don't pull them out, there could be a situation where
I always pull out.
Maybe.
That's not
I'm
true.
pretty
I
sure. I was
actually
about to
have
say,
a
I'm pretty
10-month-old
sure
son right now.
that you have a child. You forgot
Hey,
that
well,
time.
like they said, the pull-out method doesn't always work.
No.
I never pull
And that's-
out. What am I
that's
kidding?
proof.
Who am I kidding?
Oh my kidding.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it a good investment? I don't know.
Huh.
But I think for what it is, I think the network and the platform, the protocol, I think is good. I think that part is good.
Yeah, well, I'll just say I don't doubt that you could make money off of this by playing it up and down, but you can make money off of lots of things that I think are shady. You can play shady markets all the time, but
Those are
I
my
just
markets.
yeah. Well, I think there are a lot of folks, and I know P. You find the coins that are super highly volatile, and you go in there and you play them, and you make a lot of money that way. And
Well, I don't know that I'd say that, but
well, you do it a lot. I know you play a lot in the riskier stuff.
oh yeah, I like risky stuff. I'm a high risk investor.
But I just don't want to convey to any of the listeners that I feel
Cool.
like Ripple is a good investment or it's not a risky investment. I think it's super risky. I mean, look,
You could
I
say
don't
that
think
about
you. I don't think you
crypto.
conveyed that at all.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. I don't debate that at all either. And I listened to a YouTube video today that basically said, crypto is the entire space is an incredibly risky investment. So
I would
you're
agree.
taking
Yeah.
one of the most risky investments possible right now, maybe minus weed stocks, and
Yeah.
because they're at like the top of their bubble
Oh yeah.
and have like way overextended valuations, but that's another podcast.
Let's decentralized pot.
Yeah, and I forgot where I was going with this.
Thursdays at 6 o'clock.
That's decentralized talk,
Very
man.
incredibly risky investment just to be in the crypto space right now, and then you're looking at even more riskier coins as well. I think with where the market cap is and what the coin is and could potentially do, because you're going to say that about any coin. What can it potentially do? Because none of them are doing jack shit right now.
Yep.
Bitcoin's hanging around.
because it's.
I mean, well, yeah, but I mean, actually doing something.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is probably worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $7,000.
Yeah.
That's probably its
I
real
agree.
value right now after all this crazy alt seasons and this and that and all this stuff. I mean that to me that's what it looks like. Bitcoin is worth somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000.
I feel like if Ripple can succeed with bank to bank transfers, making them cheaper and saving banks and users money, I think that a lot of banks could really use this. And if they do integrate XRapid, then 20 cents is nothing, 60 cents is nothing. I mean, it's not investing advice, but that's how I see it in the future. In the long term, these 120 banks, it's nothing. They're just hedging their bets and saying like, maybe we'll look into it at this point. I think that's where they're at right now.
Here's another thing to keep in mind that I just thought of on Ripple, and then we'll probably transition. But if XRP was the biggest company in the world for like 20 minutes or whatever.
No, the owner was one of the owners was like one of the wealthiest.
He was the richest guy.
Yeah. No, he wasn't the richest. He was up there in the top 10 though.
Okay, so if you got one person with that kind of money at $3, and with the implementation that you guys are kind of visualizing, I'm going to say you guys, but the implementation that's potential, right? The potential, it could go.
He would be really,
10,
really rich.
15, yeah, okay, so he would be
Really rich.
significantly more rich, like to the tune of significantly more rich than all of these bankers, the banks. And so the person processing the transaction fees would somehow be worth more money than banks. I don't see that
Well,
valuation.
They're not
Well-
processing it, even though
Yeah.
it's a centralized blockchain. It's not solely owned by the company. You can actually be a node. I guess
Mhm.
is the best way to put it in layman's terms.
No, it is.
could-
That's perfect.
You could open
can
up
run your
your
own
own node, Tater, and run it and actually be a market maker. So you could say, okay, I'm going to process your transactions. I'm going to hold this distributed ledger, and I'm going to charge you 10 cents for every transaction and make money.
And as long as the people transacting on that all agree,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
And because you
The
own that
reason-
node and you do those transactions, you get a vote on whatever happens to the blockchain.
The reason that guy was so wealthy when it hit $3 is because he has so much XRP.
That is
But
one thing
how
I
it-
disagree with.
Well, but how is that any different from anybody that invented some great thing and they own a bunch of shares of it and now they're super rich? How's that
Yeah.
any
It's
different?
not near as shady as the GoPro guy. Didn't
How's
he?
he shady? I thought his story was actually pretty cool. How he
Oh, you didn't.
he was
you
selling
didn't hear about what
necklaces
he
and then
did?
I
mean-
was just in the invention of the GoPro, or like, you know, how he
So-
knew about it.
Supposedly, when he took GoPro public, you get issued so many shares of your company, and you're not supposed to sell them for an extended amount of time. Well, he found some loophole where he could sell them through a charity organization that he owned.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I just had read this thing about him, how he was broke and traveling up and down the California coast selling necklaces and jewelry because he didn't have any money. But he liked to surf, and that was his big thing. But he would carry this camera around, and he just never found a good way to like film his surfing. And he came up with the GoPro. It wanted some kind of action camera that could get wet and all these things. That's what I was talking about. But yeah, that sounds shady as hell.
That story sounds like bullshit too.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, think about it.
I guess we'd have to ask him.
We'll have him on. We'll bring him on. Because
Yeah, I
think
we
about
should
it. Think
probably
about
get
it.
by next week.
Think about it. Like you're penniless surfer bum, and you're like, oh man, I should totally create a dope ass camera to help me surf. And then he just did it, bro.
Well, supposedly, like, he combined different camera parts and stuff and broke a bunch of cameras, and then eventually like came up with one that had a wide angle lens. And
Is this going to be something like Bill Gates, where you find out that his mom was actually the chief loan officer of the largest bank of Seattle?
probably not. But
So there
okay.
I was, man. There I was, just putting camera parts together, and my mom was like, "Here's $100,000," and I was like, "Okay."
I don't think that's what happened.
We'll find
Maybe.
out. I feel like this is one of your heroes.
Like I said,
Okay.
no. I just read one article about his startup, and I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's any truth to it. I don't know. Who knows?
I honestly don't know if there's any truth to what I just told y'all either. I just saw it on one YouTube video that I watched.
Honestly, there's probably no truth to anything we say on this podcast.
I feel it's a pretty legitimate channel though, so I feel like it's probably,
Ours?
well, obviously, but the one I was watching.
I mean, our show is not investing advice. It's also not educational advice. It's just no advice at all.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, just
Us rambling incoherently for about an hour.
Yeah.
But honestly, I see Ripple going further than banks eventually if it takes a hold. Just because of the possibilities, really at the base level of it, it's almost a exchange, or it could be seen as some sort of exchange, as a decentralized exchange even.
All right, you guys have convinced me. And not only have you sold me on Ripple, but you've sold me on our 3-on-3 fast break. This is going to go down as one of the worst transitions. But speaking of transitions, it's time for our 3-on-3 fast break. That's where each week we pick 3 coins from the 300 level market cap or below and make our pitch for that coin. We're going to give you an overview of the coin. We're going to tell you about the price, the market cap, supply, a little bit about what it does and what potential it has for the future. See if it would be a good investment, which of course we are not telling you because this is not investment advice. This week, Heston.
Am I up first?
Your time starts now.
Good Lord. No
2 minutes
warm up or all. Okay, so my 3-on-3 this week is Bob's Repair. Ticker is BOB. Bob. Right now, currently it's trading at 5 cents. What is the Hank Hill? Damn it, Bobby. Okay, so currently it's trading at 5 cents. You can learn more at bobsrepair.com. Pretty straightforward. Their market cap
is ad from Bob's Repair.
Their market cap's at $3 million. Total supply $360 million. Bob.
Propane and propane accessories.
Their circulating supply is $78 million. Bob. Okay, so what Bob's Repair is a lot like Angie's List or what's the other one? Homerepair.com? Is that it?
Home Advisor.
Homeadvisor.com. Yeah. So
actually, Home Advisor bought Angie's List, by the way.
No shit. I didn't know that. Okay, so say you're a contractor and you do plumbing, okay? You could put your service on Home Advisor, and then Home Advisor is going to take a piece of the profit. They're going to charge you for the advertising of that service to list on their site. And then the more you pay them, the higher up on the rankings you'll be. So it's a system where you're not getting the full pay. The contractor's not getting the full pay that they deserve. And the person paying the contractor really isn't, they're paying the company to list them. So it's not from user to contractor. It's not from the person that needs the plumbing service to the person that's the plumber. It's not one-to-one. So Bob's Repair kind of takes care of that using the blockchain. So they have an app, a website. Say you're in Houston, Texas, and they actually are just in a few cities right now. And Houston is one of them. They also are in Vegas, Denver, San Diego, Bakersfield,
Ding dong,
Dallas. So they're still growing. But say you're in Houston, you need a plumber, you download Bob's Repair app. It shows you all the plumbers around your area. Then because it's on the blockchain, it's totally transparent. So you can see all the recent services that, say, Harry the plumber did, and all what he charged for those services. So you can make sure you're getting a competitive rate for what he's charged recently. It uses the Bob token as a payment system. So you just put your USD into Bob. Damn, that was quick. It uses smart contracts. Bam.
Oh no, that was 1 minute. Sorry.
Really?
No, it was 3.
Oh,
it did go quick. It was actually you filled that with a lot of information. Prater, your time starts now.
I almost did Bob's Repair last week, to be honest with you. But this week, instead, I did Quantum Resistance Ledger. It has a market cap of 11 million, circulating supply of 52 million, total supply 65 million. You can get it on Bittrex, Liqui, Coin Exchange, and Tidex. It's not often that you find one of these coins on one of the larger exchanges, so I thought that was pretty interesting that you could purchase it on Bittrex. So what is Quantum Resistant Ledger? Basically, it's just a cryptocurrency that's quantum resistant.
And you're talking about quantum computer resistant?
Yeah.
The quantum attack?
It's quantum leap resistant. So you will not be projected into an alternate universe randomly
80s.
throughout your life if you own this token.
I'm out.
So, and you don't have to help people in this universe and like figure out why these bad things are happening. So you'll go back to your original universe.
It sounds
There's nobody named
super
Sam
boring.
with a super futuristic calculator.
Sam was cool as hell.
Beep boop boop beep boop.
Well,
All right, we
I
just
mean,
wasted about
which
a
is
minute
how-
of your time.
Which is how everything in the future sounds.
and but anyways, I mean, honestly, it's not really anything super special, but I mean,
Oh.
they do have a good point where, in the future, quantum computing is probably going to be a capability that we achieve. So why not have a quantum resistant coin? So, I don't know. It shot up a while back, and it was, I mean, pretty about 20 times what it's worth now. It's not like there's anything super awesome that it's doing other than that. So it just might be something you want to look at. I mean, I don't have anything against quantum resistant coin, but I also don't have anything like super awesome other than that to say about it.
Well, you've got almost exactly 30 seconds to try.
Any questions?
Do you guys remember that episode of Quantum Leap where he came back and he like looked himself in the mirror and he had Down syndrome?
I do not, but I remember the episode where he was cleaning an old folks' home, and Dee and
Yeah,
and Frank showed up.
that's right. That was a good one.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to span the gap. I'm going to start my time now. Between a coin called Quantum, what was it?
Quantum Leap token.
No, quantum resistant.
I know.
Quantum Resistance token and Bob's pickup truck.
Repair.
Yeah. So somewhere between those lies a little something called cred. And you want cred, I want cred, we all want cred. People trying to get cred, street cred. I don't know any other kinds of credit cards. Just trying to burn up some time here. Investors in this are pretty significant companies like Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google's similar name. This is a different company though. Binance, cryptocurrency, all definitely household names. Blockto, which is a blockchain-based pornography website. What is cred? It's something that offers flexibility for participants, according to their website. So basically, crypto to fiat loan, allowing collateralization of cryptocurrencies to spend fiat without sacrificing their current crypto position. All right, so they hold. It sounds honestly like a lot like we were talking about with Ripple. They're holding funds so that you can make super fast transaction speeds, and you can go from crypto to fiat, and then also you can go from crypto to crypto, and you basically have this kind of like a buffer, and you can get from your crypto to fiat without having to sacrifice any of the actual cryptocurrency that you have. So crypto to stablecoin loans, enabling borrowers to hedge price volatilities without exiting the market. That's pretty cool. If you're, I always say don't invest on credit, especially if you're listening to this show. Don't invest on credit, probably. Just do your own research, get better at trading. But this is pretty cool. If you want like a loan to hedge, you find a super hot spot, like Ripple's about to blow, and you want to get in on some hot Ripple action. then you can certainly do that with cred. Damn it.
I remember reading about cred at one point. I know I heard that it's fully U.S. regulation compliant. I don't know like what that means, but I remember reading about that.
So it's centralized.
Yeah, I guess your comparison to Ripple is accurate.
Well, you know what that means, Decent.
What does that mean?
That means that about wraps things up for this episode of The D. Be sure to tune in next week where we attempt to interview somebody about something. Eventually, we're going to get another one of these. And you should stay tuned to find out if it's interesting or not. Odds are, it is uninteresting. Check us out. Be sure to send comments at DTalk Podcast on Twitter and Facebook, and Decentralized Talk on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Musiccoin, and anywhere dope shit is sold. Links to the website in the description below. Stay decent, cryptos.